One of the most fun things you can do in Madden is experiment with players, and as sus as that sounds and how much of a pause is needed after it, obviously what I mean is, let's say you just drafted a really fast, good hit power safety. You're thinking, this guy would be kind of busted at linebacker. You move him over, he barely loses overalls, and he ends up winning Rookie of the Year because he's a user god. Those are the types of examples I'm talking about, and that's what we're going to be looking at here today in this top 10 overpowered position switches video. I could just go in and show you 10 examples of players switching positions that are really overpowered, but instead of doing that and it being really repetitive, I'm actually going to go through the top 10 positions that I usually switch and then give you some examples of those players. So technically, it's more than 10. We do this every year, and I think it's a really fun video, and also, I think it's really powerful. Like, if you guys watch my rebuilds, there is not a single rebuild where I'm not switching players that I drafted to a different position because I need them there more. If you guys end up enjoying this video, maybe leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and if you have any suggestions or requests in the future you want to see, let me know in the comment section below, and hey, maybe you'll be featured. Now, the first position switch group I'm going to be bringing up is safety to cornerback. Now, this isn't a position switch that's usually going to see you net a positive in overall gain, but overall just a positive potential changeup for, let's say, the Eagles, where, sure, they do have a safety problem, but Reed Blankenship, if we're talking long-term, can develop, and of course, so can Sidney Brown. But you look at their corners, Darius Slay needs to be replaced, James Bradbury needs to be replaced, Isaiah Rodgers isn't really a long-term option, you have Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, but overall, if you wanted to switch over at Garner Johnson, for example, he goes from an 84 to an 83, which is not much of a drop-off, and once again, this guy can be your cornerstone corner, while you still develop Reed Blankenship and Sidney Brown to be your cornerstone safeties. You have your star 3, you end up trading Slay and Bradbury off, even though they have insane penalties, and you're looking pretty good at the cornerback position long term. Now, while you can basically do this with any player possible, the best players to do this for are obviously going to be guys with higher man than zone, and a big thing for this video isn't just the position switches themselves for active players, but a lot of the players in the CPU drafts, there are so many safeties that have higher man than zone coverage, and you can easily switch them over. I didn't actually look at Daxton Hill to see what his overall change would be, but a 75 overall switching over to cornerback nets him 0 overalls lost. So if you decided for the Bengals that you wanted a really fast, high potential corner instead of safety, you could go Daxton Hill. Now, this isn't probably the best example because they already have Cam Taylor-Britt and DJ Turner. You could easily use those two, and I think even Josh Newton. Does he have star? He doesn't, in fairness. But Daxton Hill, makes a pretty good switch over to corner. So number 10 is going to be safety to cornerback. Where number 10 was actually very usable, number 9 is actually more of a fun change, which of course is going to be quarterback to running back. Justin Fields in game is actually still very usable as a quarterback. 75 overall, good throw power, decent accuracies, pretty damn fast, but we all know that he has really, really good elusiveness ratings. The only real loss for him would be his bad carrying, and most of the quarterbacks are like that. But if you were to switch Justin Fields from a quarterback, he goes from a 75 overall down, and yes, weirdly enough, down to 74 overall. I think if you were to boost that carrying, though, which obviously, it's kind of irrelevant to say boost it because that's not how it works, he would definitely be way higher than this, but as a running back, he's one of the fastest running backs already in the league, and he's very elusive. I know you could say it would be kind of wrong to do it, but I honestly look forward to the day that Justin Fields just plays running back. He could be freaking goated. For a more even realistic switch, Malik Willis is a guy that I would like to move over because at 63 overall, I think his window to develop in Madden is basically gone. He drops from a 63 overall to nothing because he actually keeps his overall completely intact. Not the most crazy running back ever, but you can't tell me that wouldn't be super fun to have Malik Willis as a running back. And honestly, if I was doing a Titans franchise, if I wasn't going to use Malik, I absolutely would. This is one I would do. Fields, I would use a QB, but Willis, I would 100% do this. And at number 8, we have tight end to fullback. You can see Taysom Hill here, obviously a Swiss Army knife, quarterback, tight end, wide receiver, running back, fullback. Now, the big thing with him is he goes from a 75 overall tight end all the way up to an 86 overall fullback. The big thing with this position switch is the fact that, in my opinion, it doesn't feel like, we've done it in the past, maybe they've changed it, I doubt it, blocking ratings for fullbacks actually doesn't matter. It just doesn't feel like they matter at all. It's all about speed, how fast you can get out there. So with this one, you can kind of just take one of the fastest tight ends on your team that you might not be using and just put him at fullback, because obviously you can see there's a bunch of tight ends in the 88 plus speed range, whereas if you look at fullback, there's not a single one in the 88 plus speed range. A decent example, even though I would never want to waste him, of a positive as well, is it doesn't just have to be Taysom, who's very specific. Luke Musgrave, 62 run block. He's really not that special as a blocker. 73 overall, and when you switch him to fullback, he actually jumps to a 74 overall, which, once again, that is a positive. So if you have a team that has extra full tight ends, and especially if they're fast, move him to fullback, and you got yourself an athletic fullback that can also catch. And now we have one that's actually a little different from the ones I've done in the past for this video series, if you will. We have D-line switching across the line. Normally we'd have one where it's outside linebackers moving to D-end, D-end's moving to outside linebacker. That one's kind of stupid because it's really just EA's outdated terminology. It's an edge rusher, right? Aiden Hutchinson is an edge rusher. Him moving to outside linebacker, it's really not that spectacular. But if you move Aiden Hutchinson to defensive tackle, that's where things can get kind of busted. 88 overall, Aiden Hutchinson moving over from that DN spot doesn't lose an overall at defensive tackle. And the thing about Madden is, at least in the past, and I would imagine it's still going to be the case, it's not about weight. It's all about those ratings. And the big thing with a guy like Aiden Hutchinson specifically is not only is he strong, but he has 90 finesse move. DTs with finesse moves are so good in game because they just simply can't be blocked. Most of the interior linemen are better at power moves than they are finesse moves. So when you have a DT that has high finesse, you're going to cook. If you put someone like 90 finesse Aiden Hutchinson at DT, he's probably going to be the best DT in the entire game, other than, potentially DTs that have finesse move, which, honestly, now that Aaron Donald's gone, is there many? You got Chris Jones, which he would literally tie Chris Jones with the highest finesse move at the DT spot. Obviously, if you switch a guy like Derek Brown to DT, 90 overall right end, he goes up 3 overalls at defensive tackle. This is a really good move if you have extra DNs that you want to put at DT. I personally don't like to do. I think it's a little gimmicky because it is really strong. It works out really well. I kind of want to see Za'Darius, because for a DN, he's got decent block shed. 83 overall, and of course, Green Bay for a while actually did kind of move him around and rush him from the DT spot a couple times from interior. So let's see what he can do. 83 overall, moving over to DT. He ends up becoming an 84 overall. So as you can see, he actually went up from DN to DT. And at 275 pounds, that's light, but it's workable. It's usable. This is a thing that you would want to use mostly in the draft, but that is going to be on our list, of course. And for number 6, we have a weird one because in real life, it is a very common move, but for some reason in-game, you don't gain the overall jump that you think you would. Looking at a guy, for example, like Deron Bland, moving from corner to safety, I should mention which one it is, he's got really good zone coverage, 94 zone coverage, 85 man coverage, but for some reason, when he moves to safety, it could be that block shed, in fairness, even though safeties typically have low block shed anyways, he doesn't actually go up in overall, which is really weird to me. You would think that he would go up in overall. Kyler Gordon's another really good example, but it's still going to make our list because this is going to be one of those things where you might have an older corner that has dropped out of the good speed graces, but because he's got really good zone coverage still, could easily get the job done as a safety. Is there anyone that's like we have an example for? Like right now, Kendall Fuller's probably not the best example because he's still fast enough. But there's a lot of guys that'll drop down to like 87 speed, like a James Bradbury. Would I really want an 87 speed cornerback? Probably not. He's got really good zone coverage. This would make a ton of sense to move him to safety. 80 overall. Let's see if he goes up. And at least he didn't go down, but yeah, didn't go up in overall, which, once again, I'm really surprised he didn't. Is it the tackle, maybe? I'm not sure, but that is going to be number 6 on our list. Corner to safety. Now we move on to number 5, which is a very viable one. It's going to be safety to linebacker. The big thing with safety is the fact that they're going to have pretty good hit power a lot of the times. But more importantly, the change of direction is where you're really going to be gaining for those off-ball linebackers. Kyle Hamilton's a great example, kind of touted as that Swiss Army knife. Doesn't actually go down much. I think he's an 89 overall, right? We just seen it, but 79 change of direction. Now, I got to say, it's not a good look because you're going against Roquan here, who is, he's just a freak. So he's going to be hard to compare in general. But if you actually look at other players, it's very viable for more than just the top tier players of the league. Like if you look like a guy like Tyler Nubin, I will say with the safety edge of the Giants right now, I would probably keep him there even if he is on a little bit of a slower side because they don't really have much youth. But 87 speed with 83, was it 83 or 82 change of direction, would make him one of the best agile linebackers in the game, despite being very far from that at safety. And he only drops down 3 overalls. A 73 overall hidden dev middle linebacker is good. That is a good dev. Of course, it does help that he does actually have pretty decent block shed at 67, but safety to linebacker, it's a really good move, especially if you're trying to add some change of direction. As once again, you have Isaiah Simmons, who ironically is that safety to linebacker. He's going to make us look bad here, but every other player, 76 change of direction, 75, 72, 75, 78. You look across the league, the average change of direction for safety, it's going to be slower than corner, but it's obviously going to be really, really good. Let's even take a look at Daxton Hill, for example, actually. And he does drop down significantly, 75 down to 69, but at the same time, you're talking about pure speed. A couple of games usering with a guy like this at middle linebacker, and you're going to get some dev ups pretty quickly, I think. And now we move on to one that is even more viable, believe it or not. It's linebacker to safety. I know it's kind of like a back and forth. I needed to get to 10, damn it. Leave me alone. But Troy Anderson, very athletic, high change of direction, high speed linebacker, 6'4", really fast. Would you want to waste that kind of speed going to linebacker from linebacker to safety? Probably not. But let's say you don't want to use him. Let's say you don't use your linebackers at all. You use your D-line. Troy Anderson, 65 overall at linebacker, goes all the way up to a 70 overall at safety. If this is a guy, a position you don't really care about, linebacker, and you just want them to develop, he already developed just by changing positions. 5 overalls up from linebacker to safety. Other pretty good examples in the past for us have been like Owen Pappoe, who once again also very athletic, 67 overall as a linebacker, and he goes up to 69 as a safety. So we're actually seeing some proper upgrades in overall, not just, upgrades in potential. Joke is another good player. Pretty much anyone with some speed, which nowadays in the NFL is a lot of players. And even then, I would argue Levante David, who's only 85 speed, probably goes up at safety, which he does. He goes from a 90 to a 92. Put him at strong safety because it probably makes more sense for him to be in the box with that lacking of speed. But yeah, pretty much every linebacker to safety is going to be an upgrade in overall. Now, this one is zero surprise to anyone, but it makes the list because it is so prevalent in my day-to-day Madden usage. It's going to be offensive line switching across the line. Of course, in Madden specifically, it really doesn't matter what these players have been drafted to be or what they've played in their history. It's all about just being a high overall. And of course, we've seen Terron Armstead. He went from a 92 to a 93. A lot of the times you're going to see jumps, downs. Most of the time, if you're going from outside in, you go up in overall, especially with speed. But really, the big thing about this is just getting players in general that have hidden dev through the draft and then moving them around accordingly based on their strengths. Of course, you see a lot of those 6'2", 6'2", 6'3" guards. Maybe move them to center. You see a guy like Frank Ragnow in game, 93 overall center. He's goated. He's actually superstar now. Finally, my boy has grown. And it's crazy to say my boy as a Packers fan, but it's true. He probably doesn't go up in overall, but the big thing is, do you need a center or do you need a tackle? Now, we have Sewell here anyways. Probably should have moved to left tackle, but if you move Frank Ragnow to left tackle, you now have 2 superstar tackles instead of, having a superstar center, which is cool and all, but it's not the blind side, So those are that's going to be number 3. It's going to be straight up. There's nothing special about this. There's no, crazy name that you're like, oh, this is a must-have player, a must-change player. just move players around the offensive line how you see fit. Eric McCoy is probably another good example. Very athletic center, kind of drafted to play really anywhere, kind of has played all across that offensive line, but has found a home at center over the last few years. Eric McCoy from an 86 overall to an 86 overall. So once again, that's going to be number 3. The suggestion is to just move offensive linemen around, especially if you have multiple at one position, to the position that's the most important, potentially left tackle, or just of need. And of course, we are at the top 3, which means it's going to be nothing but classics from here on out. This one, number 2, is going to be wide receiver to tight end. It's so busted, and it's actually really more prevalent than ever in the drafts, because you see a lot of tall wide receivers that are 89, 90 speed, and maybe you need someone that slow, and you'd rather have one of the fast wide receivers you drafted. Move them to tight end. Why the hell not? DK Metcalf goes from an 86 to an 89 from wide receiver to tight end. The craziest part is, they don't need to be big. Now, I probably wouldn't do this because I think it's a little broken, but even you can see here, Tyreek Hill, he is a small receiver. Really damn good, but small. Would never make it as a tight end. Goes from a 99 to a 98. You now have a 99 speed a tight end 1, which is crazy. And I mean, easily, in my opinion, that mismatch you're going to get because you're going to have a linebacker there, you would eat alive that defense with a guy like Tyreek Hill at tight end. It's not even a question. But if you're looking for specific good options, even though I really do like Musgrave as a tight end in game, Christian Watson might be a pretty good suggestion because the Packers actually do have a lot of really young wide receivers already. So if you want someone even more busted to play tight end, you switch Christian Watson over from a 76 overall to a 77. You now have a 96 speed, 6'4" tight end. Another really good one, which is a little bit less cheese in my opinion, would be Treylon Burks, a guy that really hasn't worked out. And I know he's only 6'2", but he's very elusive and actually fits that kind of trucking mold for a tight end. 75 trucking, maybe not the easiest to get to him the ball because he's not the best route runner. He's also not that fast. But with those ratings at tight end, he actually becomes one of the best route runners in the league. And despite the fact that he doesn't really go up that high in overall, it is still an improvement just to have him at tight end, I think. And of course, with the Titans not having the best tight ends in the game, Okonkwo's decent. You could easily make him your tight end 1 right away. And of course, with some of the names they brought in, you don't really miss a beat at wide receiver because you still have 3 guys that are 80 plus overall. And now with number 1, you already damn knew what it was going to be. It was going to be wide receiver to running back. Of course, the big thing with this is that there's a lot of really, really fast wide receivers, but running back wise, the speed is kind of capped around 94, 95 speed. You get a guy like Jalen Waddle. He's an 87 overall wide receiver. I would never do this, but you switch him from wide receiver to running back, he goes up to 96 overall. This is really fitting for teams that maybe don't have a great running back and you want to just have a speedy guy there. Maybe, I don't know, I can't really think of a team that doesn't have a great running back. Here the Patriots don't really have the best long-term running back in game. Ramondre Stevenson, he's decent, but I don't think he'll ever become a 90-plus overall in game. Tyquan Thornton, 6'2", 96 speed. Let's see what his overall jumps to at running back. And you can see, even he, not really that elusive, goes to a 70 overall. Carrying 76, very fair. That's not bad at all. I mean, you just have so many options. You can pretty much put any single wide receiver in the game at running back. You know what? We usually do fast wide receiver to running back. What about a Pittman? What does Pittman do at running back? So let's take a look at those ratings. Not very elusive at all. He's an 86 overall. Let's see what he does at running back. And you can see here, even Michael Pittman, who really doesn't look like he would be that good of a running back, ends up becoming an 89 overall at that position. I'm not sure what it is. It might just be the catching doing it because of a receiving type. It's probably his main archetype, right? 89 receiving back. But either way, that position switch is so damn busted. It's actually insane. Of course, we have Tyreek Hill at tight end right now. He fits as a running back, obviously. I'm actually kind of curious. It's kind of random, but I'm going to put Tyreek Hill at running back. And I'm just going to sim the season, see what kind of year he could have. I'm just curious. And I didn't even think about it, but I forgot that we also have Waddle at running back. Let's take a look at what those numbers look like. Is it overall based? Surely he should have really good yards per carry, right? 4.5 yards per carry with 1,200 yards. I mean, he just fits right in. Obviously, I would expect even more than this from him. Carrying's not actually that bad, but super elusive, 99 speed. I mean, I want to actually, you know what? I'm going a step further. I hope they made the playoffs because I'm going in and I want to play a snap with this guy. Yeah, I'm actually kind of impressed that this team even made the playoffs with like all their wide receivers playing running back. And of course, out the backfield, Tyreek Hill even just as, you know, a receiver there, you know, wide open easily. Tyreek Hill, I don't know why, but Tyreek Hill also looks taller as a running back. It's kind of weird. And we get no block from the fullback. We talked about it before. It's all about speed. The fullbacks, they suck in game. They don't know how to block. In general, the game doesn't know how to block for impact players anyways, but, you know, using impact blocking. But, yeah, they just go for speed at fullback, which is why we talk about the tight end. And there goes Tyreek Hill, showing off some speed. Tyreek Hill as a running back. Almost gone. I got to say, he looks even slower than I would have imagined, too. But to the 20-yard line, the speed of Reek. I was going to change some of these like visual feedbacks. I hate that it like shows me how to juke. I don't need that. As Mosley kind of outruns us. Want a touchdown. I just want one touchdown with him. Is that much? Too much to ask for. Let him cook. Wow, this fullback, I talked about it already. He's so useless. And it's not Alec Ingold. I think that's the fullback. It's just fullbacks are useless in game. What can I tell you? And Tyreek Hill inside. Slips it for the touchdown. And this weird, meaningless gameplay has come to an end. Anyways, that's going to be it for this one. If you learned anything, you thought it was interesting of a watch, maybe leave a like, subscribe if you're new. We do a ton of franchise stuff on the channel. Maybe follow me on Twitter, Jeromepkr. Second channel, PK Plays are now Madden content. And I'm not 100% sure because I'm not even sure what was uploaded today, but maybe Raging Cajuns is next. If not, we'll have maybe Raging Cajuns tomorrow with potentially the start of our Madden 25 franchise. For one, the one thing I really want to see is if you guys have a crazy position switch, like, I'm not sure, like Chase Claypool's insane at free safety, something crazy, let me know in the comment section below, because I'm always interested in looking for this stuff. It's really fun. I don't know why. It just is. And maybe we can use that suggestion for a player in one of our franchises, and they're actually a player that becomes like a channel legend for all we know. So let me know. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you guys come back for next video, but until next video, see ya!